This will be the most fun for a little while, I think. Changes. Now, we look to be up and live, I think. Let's get rockin', crack-a-lackin'.
That's us.
That's us. We're
Happy Thursday.
off and racing. Off and racing.
G'day.
There you go, mate.
Very
You're
good.
a celebrity
Let's do the
again.
intros. Yep, we are.
Hey, do the ones you got to do, and then I'll do an intro.
My name's Anthony Irvine. I'm a councillor on Temora Shire Council, but none of the views I express here are those of Temora Shire Council. They're my views and mine alone. But I do want to take the opportunity tonight to also announce that I'm going to run as an independent candidate in the next New South Wales state election. All right. Now, that's not for 21 months or so.
Yeah. No, that's.
But I just want to let the community know that that's a decision I've thought long and hard about, and it's something I'm going to do, and hopefully over the period of time we'll get a bit of momentum behind it. And
that's a fantastic idea, and that's news to me, ladies and gentlemen. That's a big call.
I just wanted to get that one out there. So officially, I'm a candidate for
state election. Goodness, that might mean I don't have to do it. I'll have a happy wife.
Going head to head with Steph, but I'm sure she'll take it easy on me.
I'm sure she will be, as a seasoned veteran.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, and it kept me a little bit out of trouble because last week's episode with Stewie Bonds and the internet played up fairly poorly. Stewie was intimating fairly gently and subtly, saying, "Dean, we want you to run for One Nation," which was kind of cute.
Well, you can.
I don't know that I'm going to. That Lisa would have me strung up, but anyway.
So anyway, I'll be an independent.
That's excellent news. Yeah. Big call, big fella.
No, it's what I need to do.
Yep, fair enough. Great stuff. Well, that's good news, ladies and gentlemen. And while that's Councillor Irvine and his opinions, I'm Dean McRae.
Independent candidate.
Councillor Irvine, independent candidate, future MP. I like that. I'm really impressed by that. That's excellent news. I'm Dean McRae, and my opinions are absolutely my own. I answer to nobody. I bow down to nobody. I call the truth as I see it. And if I get it wrong, I declare it's wrong. If I get it right, I'm more than happy to take the credit there as well. But ladies and gentlemen, have we got an epic week? Some of you may have seen that our Facebooks blew up a little bit in the last 24 hours. The Temora Bugle, the Hit Job Herald, possibly the biggest full of shit, bullshit newspaper in Australia, has managed to fail miserably on multiple levels this week. From the little skim I just had through, the worst investment for $2. What was it, $2.50?
$2.50.
$2.50 for pus. Absolute pus. I've never seen such a ridiculous bucket of shit as what's coming out of this little crew now at the moment. And I'm going to hammer them all day, every day for fun.
There is some good news. And the good news is that our friend, Propaganda Pete Marnie, is retiring.
Is he?
Yes.
Not before he tries to rob you by selling you his car for 10 grand.
So they had a farewell dinner. Past and present staff of the Temora Independent gathered at the Ex-Services Memorial Club last week to farewell two retiring members, Group Editor Peter Marnie and Graphic Designer Yvonne McGurk. Are both retiring this month after many years working at the paper. Mrs. McGurk worked at the Independent for 13 years, while Mr. Marnie has led the paper for more than 10 years.
Well, led it over a fucking cliff, best I can tell.
Well, lemming-like, and, probably he's led it.
There are some weeks here where we get more viewers of this program than he sells newspapers. Of that, I'm confident.
But it's just the level of gutter journalism that he has taken this paper to.
He is absolute trash as a human, as a journalist. But the guy's a dead shit.
But the gutter journalism that he has introduced into this newspaper, and really it's a new level. He has plumbed the depths of the sewers that, there's some parts of the sewer network that haven't been.
I tell you what, look, toilet paper's expensive, but I suppose we could use this to do the job.
This most recent front page, because they've been coming thick and fast, and we've got it up here for anyone who wants to have a look at it. For anyone who doesn't know, the Minister for Local Government, Mr. Ron Honig, visited Temora
And we've discussed Mr. Ron Honig many, many times. We've played videos
Yes.
of Mr. Honig pointing out some of his views on certain things.
Mr. Ron Honig visited Temora earlier this week, and I was fortunate enough, the council were invited to a roundtable meeting with the minister that was at 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, which I attended. I found the minister quite charming.
You'd want to be after 30 years of public life if you couldn't put a few sentences together. And
well, he was a mayor for over 30 years, plus he's been in Parliament. So he did conduct. He's a lawyer by trade, so he knows
silver tongue.
Yeah, how to put a few words together, and he was good value. He the format for the afternoon was basically Ron gave us a bit of an overview of what his objectives are in the role, what his experience was just in the short visit to Temora Shire. And then
we said, who is this fellow ingratiatingly wiggling his tongue in my bottom? And why does he keep following me around like that?
Then we went around the table and all the councillors had an opportunity to ask any questions or make any comment.
And according to the paper, you have been derided and shot at by this gentleman at the round table.
No,
I read the paper. The paper, look,
that doesn't mention the round table.
Minister's not happy with you. He doesn't like you.
None of that happened at this meeting.
Oh.
So I don't know where that happened.
So this happened.
That didn't happen at this.
Is there a journalist attached? Sean Cunningham.
Cunningham.
This happened in Sean Cunningham's imagination,
yeah.
or some other level of bullshit between he and Peter Martin.
We don't know. Anyway, the round table, believe it or not, Mr. Honig was. I thought, and I've said this before. The ideas or some of the improvements that Mr. Honig wants to make in the sector, I welcome.
Yeah.
We spoke about the.
You are far more civilised with this than I am.
We spoke about the guidelines concerning free speech that they released on the 3rd of June.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the key points of that. And we did agree that if they can stick to that and that becomes the norm in this space, then that's an improvement in the sector.
Yes.
So there were other few things he spoke about. He was really quite complimentary to. He'd been down to the library and there's a mural that I was involved in down there years ago, and he was very complimentary about the quality of that. And he was also very complimentary about some other sign projects I've done around the town, which was really nice to receive some compliments for that type of work. Would you believe I've never been thanked by Temora Shire Council for any of that? But the Minister for Local Government comes here once, notices it and says, wow, that's really nice work.
Look, I'll rain on your parade a bit there. When I pay you, that's your thanks. That's
There's an element.
I don't go to work and go, I'd like my boss to thank me. I go over there, kick ass, take names, and I expect to see shiny round numbers come up in my bank account regularly, and then I continue to do the same. But in saying, it's always nice when I go, fuck, you're a killer, and you go, yeah, no, it's good fun, isn't it?
Well,
it's
but like I say, he didn't employ me.
No.
He just saw it and said, wow, that's really good work.
That was
nice.
You might get a couple of jobs up in botany.
Let's hope
I believe he's got a bit of sway up there.
Would you believe I did my apprenticeship at Redfern?
Yeah.
So only down the road.
Oh, there you go.
I could go back and
tap up Ronnie. I'm sure he's still well connected in Botany City Council. There'd be no doubt. That's how the hookup works when you're in the gang.
So anyway, we can explore that. But the meeting was good. It was amicable. It was very pleasant, and there was nothing to indicate any of the stuff that's been reported here.
Yeah, right. So we spoke
about the code of conduct, and Mr. Honig repeated the same thing he said all along, that the code of conduct isn't fit for purpose,
which it's not,
and it's being weaponised.
No.
Yes. So then.
So now the next.
Mr. Honig goes home, and you think, wow, that was a good meeting. I left that meeting. I thought,
he seems all right.
If this guy,
bastard,
if taken at face value, if he can do what he has told us, because I said to him, will the new code of conduct resemble the sentiments contained in this guidelines for free speech?
Yeah.
And he said, that's exactly what we intend to do. And I said, well, if that's the case, I was impressed with that document and the sentiments contained within that document. So if the new code of conduct processes and the new code of meeting guidelines follow down that path, well, I think that'd be a great step forward. So,
Well, couldn't it, surely they can't make it a step backwards, Cross.
Well-
that would be an achievement of biblical proportions.
so there was agreement and there was mutual recognition for the
Yep.
for what people were trying to do.
Okay.
So then you pick up the paper today and you've got a headline like this. Minister backs council over Irvine. Well, he spoke to me like he spoke to everyone else. He didn't make me sit in the naughty corner. He didn't make me leave the room. And he certainly didn't sit there and try and paddle me
No, you're
for
right.
being naughty or, I don't know.
Didn't he? It's outrageous.
Court action could follow serious code of conduct breaches. Is that referring to me or is that just a general statement?
It's just a bullshit statement. They've put
Right.
piss and win.
Court
I'm-
action
I'm
could
ima-
follow serious code
I'm
of conduct.
imagining this person or this person wrote the fucking article and this donkey put his name to it, best I can tell. That's where I'm at with this shit.
Well, I don't
Right?
know, but
That's where I'm at with this shit.
when
Is
you
one of these Muppets here has written the article and said, fluff that up, put your name on it and pretend you're a journalist, because that's how pathetic and hopeless this is, if that is true and accurate. Now, I have no reason to question your integrity. You've certainly never been known to tell too many porcupines to anybody. Probably said you had told your wife you had 6 beers when you've had 8 on occasion, I'd imagine, like just about everybody. But as a rule, I don't think that you're certainly not well known in the community for telling bullshit. You're currently well known in the community for hurting a couple of sensitive bitches' feelings. And unfortunately, if you're going to be in public life, that happens. Don't be in public life if you're going to have feelings, because there's no room for it. You're going to get hurt, and then you're going to cry, and I'm not going to give a shit.
What have I done?
This is another hit
what
job.
have I actually done that's hurt feelings?
Nothing.
That's what I mean. So
Nothing. It's complete bullshit. Right?
now,
Now, when I read this is I've been calling these clowns a hit job Errol for a long time, right? They come gunning for me when I had my fuck up. And I reckon I copped it on the chin. I had people going, you should sue them, blah, blah. No, it was fair. It was equitable. They were factual. They called me an asshole, which is fine. I'm happy to wear that because I'm a bit more public than the rest. If this minister, and I tagged him today in the post that I made, I want his answer. Did he indicate that you're in some sort of strife, because he clearly didn't have the balls to do it to your face if that's the case? And if he didn't, then this is lies, fabrication, manipulation, bullshit to realign the community against you in theory.
well,
And
it's designed
it's
to
to
ruin.
paint this particular spaz and a couple of other spazzes like they're holier than thou, when we all know that they're not. They are full of shit.
It's clearly designed to ruin my reputation, affect my business, and impact my family.
Correct.
It's designed, as you can see. Like, listen to this. This is the level of gutter journalism that Peter Marnie has stooped to on his way out the door. Although not mentioning Anthony Irvine by name, there was little doubt the minister was referring to the recalcitrant Temora Council. What on earth gives them the right?
That's not a quote. You're basically imagining what this guy has said.
Once upon a time in Temora.
I had a conversation with Donald Trump imaginarily the other day, and he said you're all fucking idiots. Now, he may have said that. He may not have. I don't really know. I didn't have that conversation, but it's possible when he called a heap of people idiots the other day, he meant you lot. Quite possibly. I don't know. I'll just make it up as I go along, because apparently that's what this pathetic half-assed newspaper has devolved into. The sooner it runs out of money and shuts down, the happier I'll be. It's a complete waste of time. It's a disaster.
The major concern is when an article like that appears on the front page of the newspaper.
It gives its credibility and credence. People still trust that shit. Not many, but some.
Now, listen to this.
Again, you're far, far better
Listen
at
to
this
this.
shit than what I am. I'd burn the joint down if I had my way.
Mayor Rick Furman said
Proverbially, of
council
course.
takes its code of conduct compliance very seriously, expecting each councillor uphold standards of behaviour the community deserves. He said the council had followed due process in the matters regarding Councillor Irvine and acted on independent advice to ensure transparency and accountability.
Well,
Mr. Honig maintains stronger legislative tools than needed, and his plan is to put them in place. Now,
because I shoot straight, and because I
obviously the Temora Independent has consulted the mayor relative to those statements.
he fucking wrote 3/4 of it.
Look, we don't know that. Sean Cunningham has written it. Sean Cunningham claims responsibility for it. But if the mayor got that paper this morning and read that, now the mayor hasn't come out and made a media release today saying I don't agree with what was said. This has been misquoted. This isn't what happened. This article is biased against Councillor Irvine. The mayor hasn't come out and said that.
Well, not that I've seen, but then
So that means the mayor must
endorse
endorse
this whole shit. Of course. Yes.
Okay, so when you've got a council that allows this type of smear to exist unchallenged, then that's when you know that that council is intentionally harming an individual's reputation, bullying that individual, weaponising the code of conduct process,
Absolutely.
and acting terribly.
If this was on the other foot going the other direction, there'd be tears, there'd be therapy,
Well,
there'd be all
listen to
sorts of
this.
bullshit.
This is the caption under the photo. Local Government Minister Ron Honig Centre with members of the Temora Shire Council and an unhappy-looking Councillor Irvine, far right, on Tuesday. Well, Paul Martin.
Paul Martin doesn't look thrilled to bits to be there.
You know, like,
Poor old this Sheila Rear doesn't look like she's exactly, shitting rainbows and green.
Nigel's not smiling.
Almost asleep, it's just
Brenton's got a
typical.
smile. Graham's got a
Brenton looks thrilled to be
spurt.
there. Graham kind
Ron's
of
smiling. Rick's smiling. He's looking at the camera.
Rick's always smiling because there's a camera in the building and there's somebody who's got a higher profile than him nearby, so I better smile.
Melissa's trying to smile, but seem to finding it
this is shit.
finding it difficult.
Well, I try to, because I'm a transparent guy, right? If I call somebody out publicly, I tag them in it, right?
Well,
I do that. If I'm going to call somebody out and say something about somebody, I'll do it publicly. I'll tag their ass, tag them, eh? And I got an extremely funny result. It came up with Rick Furman mentioning disabled. Now I can post this up. How's it going to show up here? Just so that people know. Oh, look, I posted it on my book face anyway. Mentioning disabled. Now, I wasn't going to mention him being disabled, but I mean, there's an element of sort of certainly tarted there. There's something not quite right.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm entitled to it. And after seeing all this unfold for the last few years, I can't come up with a better one. And people are going to go, you're getting too harsh, you're being too mean. I can't say I give a shit after reading that and watching this thing unfold and then listening to certain amounts of this crap waffle on in the, what do you call it? The stories. No, what do you call it? The recordings. Sorry, I was missing a word there. It's not often I'm missing words. But the recordings from council meetings where you be careful. No, right? You're not that special. Well, you're a bit special. Apparently, you're mentioning disabled. So, like seriously, you people need to have a good hard look at yourself. If you want to come gunning at me, come gunning at me. It'll be fun. I'll do this for breakfast, but things like that are absolute bullshit and nonsense. And the last thing in there is this douchebag editor has the audacity to be trying to sell a car that's worth about $500, nearly 300,000 Ks in his own newspaper, and he wants 10 grand out of somebody. Anybody who buys that is an absolute muppet, but it's a free market. If you want to buy a $500 shit box for 10 grand, you go ahead and give Peter Marnie 10 grand. I won't. I'm not even going to give the guy $2.50. What a spaz.
I wouldn't give him bus fare.
Well, you do. You give him, every time you buy his paper, you give him $2.50.
No.
Well, you don't steal the paper. I know you're not that dishonest. But anyway,
as we said,
we're
at the next phase. Now, maybe, just maybe, the owners will hire a group editor with some integrity. And as I've said to you before, I liken a country newspaper to a country hotel. And you will have a series of really successful good publicans, and you will have some publicans that are terrible. Well, I believe Mr. Marnie's been absolutely terrible as an editor, and the sooner he moves on, the better, and gives someone who's got some integrity and opportunity that can actually report fairly.
Look, I'll fairly reporting.
I just want fair coverage, and that's not fair coverage. That's not an indication of what occurred at the meeting. That's not an indication of what. Look, I'll show you. This will be.
I'm looking forward to seeing if Ron Honig responds to the fact that I tagged his ass, and I asked him, "Is this where you're at?" Because this paper is purporting and presenting you to have a certain opinion without being willing to even quote you. Because again, no integrity, just rumours, innuendo, and made up bullshit from a couple of spineless cowards who, the minute you pull the rug out from under them, they're going to cry They're going to squirt. Where's mummy? Mummy, save me. Daddy, save me. There's going to be some bullshit go on. And I'll tell you what, it's done. Pack your bags, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a new sheriff in town in no time, and it's going to be fun.
Well, this is what Ron Honig posted 23 hours ago, Tamora. So this is Ron, same photo, like different angle.
Paul's still not smiling. Paul, come on, mate.
I
know you guys are watching here. Paul's unhappy. What's his name? Nigel, sorry. He's awake. That's always good.
So Ron actually says on his Facebook page, he says something positive. Tamora Shire Council is a great example of experienced council leadership working harmoniously with hardworking staff and a proud local community to create a vibrant shire. I'm impressed to see a rural council that shares the aspirations of being responsive, accountable, and investing in the priorities
I don't see
unique to their town.
I don't see any accountability, Ron. I see people ducking, running, and mentioning being disabled.
Look, the Tamora Independent had the opportunity to trumpet the visit of Mr. Honig and put a positive spin on it. What they chose to do was flog me.
Yeah.
So they had the opportunity to actually create some vibe, show some leadership, highlight Mr. Honig's visit, and point out some of the high points.
The same arse clowns that write articles asking for you and I to be civilised and nice produce pus like that.
Now
stick your civilised bear up your backside. I'm not
here's
built for
Ron
that.
Honig down at the railway station. Here's Ron Honig at the library, meeting some of the wonderful staff at the Tamora Shire Council Library.
Well, that's excellent. Wonderful.
This is positive stuff.
But it's all right, Councillor Irvine, you weren't smiling at the particular time of the photo. You need to smile more.
That's the thing.
Practice your fake smile. Smile more often.
But it's not Ron's style.
It's not Ron's style for you to smile more.
No. The reporting from the Independent today isn't Ron's style.
No.
This is Ron's style. He talks about trainees and apprentices and all the sorts of things that he's trying to.
And look, as far as a Labor Party bloke goes, and look, they're all commies, left and Labor and Liberal. We all know they're all socialist type characters. If he backs up 80% or even a percentage of the stuff that we've seen in the videos where he's talking about that, I'll go, all right, cool. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But the reality of it is these silly dickheads have absolutely burned on a hit job. They seemingly have done it without any evidence to back it up. And if they've got evidence, put it on the table.
There's no evidence.
That's what I'm saying. If you've got it, let's not pretend they're not watching. We know they watch, right? If you've got evidence that Ron Honig has a serious issue with Councillor Irvine, put the gloves on, put the evidence on the table. Otherwise, you're a dishonest, disingenuous, misinformation driving pus bucket of a newspaper. And you should be defunded, you should be shut down, and you should all be out of jobs. Unemployment line, 101. See ya. Bye. That's how you should be treated, and that's what you deserve after producing such absolutely dismal journalism. Sorry, but I'm pretty pissed off about it. I
look at the pathetic mindset of these people. That is Minister backs council over Irvine, not the case. That wasn't the case.
No evidence to support anything. There's no evidence
that
in here.
Statement.
But the average nana in Tamora reads that, and I know because that's only Di does it all the time. Did you read this? Did you hear about? And she'll have just read the headline and maybe the first half paragraph. Right? They don't get down into here, and they don't. It's just clickbait bullshit that they carry on. You're not going to sell more. Well, you might sell a few more papers anytime Irvine's on the front. The only way you'll sell more is if I'm on the front for calling you a bunch of parasites. But reality of it is,
when I see stuff like this, I can just smell the fear of the mayor.
Oh, he's shooting himself, as he should.
He's beside himself. Obviously, I'm in his head, and he knows that his days as mayor are numbered. He knows he's going to be the next mayor.
Oh, well.
And it ain't him.
That's good.
Yeah. He knows that the support of the community is strongly and firmly behind me. He knows he's thrown the kitchen sink at me. And what happens? I just stand up straighter. I go better.
I've noticed.
He's tried to destroy my reputation. He's tried to destroy my business.
Yeah.
And my business is thriving. They've directed work that I should have had a fair and equal opportunity to even quote on.
Yeah.
Intentionally away from my business. Temora Shire Council have done that.
Yep.
They've done everything they possibly can to impede my progress.
Yeah.
But I just brush it aside.
That's just swatting flies.
It's
I
just
dig it.
another day in
I dig it.
paradise.
You know.
In the meantime, my business is going from strength to strength. I'm healthy. I'm strong.
I even heard your wife likes you. What sort of man has a wife that likes him?
Well, that's only a rumor.
That's only a
That's
rumor.
probably a rumor.
I tell you what.
No, so that's the thing.
I get it from I get it. You're cool as ice at the moment, and I do not doubt for 1 minute that me being this pissed off about this as I am, it's not to defend you per se. It's because this thing is supposed to be. This is portrayed as the beacon of integrity and honesty and all these things for the community, and it's pus.
I believe that is just a paid comment.
Of course it is. It's crap.
That's
if
my
you want,
opinion.
if and you're entitled to yours. Everything on this show is my opinion.
The mayor has Now, I wasn't asked to defend myself in this. There was no opportunity.
Did you get interviewed? No.
There was no opportunity for me to actually contest any of these statements.
Hence why we ended up here with the Spin Doctors show after they tried to censor you and ban you and black ban you, and they pulled out all the stops there to shut the whole thing down.
I'll tell you,
spineless,
straight down the line, the camera,
cowards.
Rick Furman, please debate me publicly on any matter you like.
Oh, fuck yeah,
Let's go. Town hall, whenever you like. Me and you, mano a mano.
Done.
I've asked you 2 or 3 times to debate me publicly about any of these matters. And we can
do it. That'll be great. I'll live stream it. We can pump it out to the world.
Don't hide behind your pet.
And if you
if you publisher,
and if you're concerned that it's only my platform, we can plug the Temora Shire Council Facebook page as we live stream out. I have the technology. We can do the whole lot all at once if you want to.
Listen to.
You've got the balls, which we know you don't.
No, and I will tell you how concerned the mayor is with my presence in the chamber. Now, Rick Furman has been the mayor of Temora Shire Council since 2012. He's been chairing meetings.
Yes,
that's
he's very
13 years.
Very new to the role, obviously.
That's 13 years.
Yes, very inexperienced.
So he should know the rules of a meeting.
It's a bit like putting out broken, illegal how to vote cards. Like you should know.
Council had a report that they brought to the last council meeting, and they had it in confidential. I believe it shouldn't have been in confidential. The majority of that report, there was only a small portion of that report that may have been eligible to be in confidential. The rest of that report should have been in open council. I raised a point of order as the mayor was trying to move the meeting into confidential. Now, the mayor spoke over the top of me. Again, he bullied me in the meeting, and he refused to hear the point of order.
Is this another one of those warnings?
No, this is where he refused to hear the point of order.
Oh, right.
Now, listen to this unfold and tell me if this isn't subverting the democratic process. Now, this is a guy who's been the chair of a meeting for 13 years. This is the guy who's the chair of the Country Mayors Association. Is he going to do this to other mayors when they're in the room and they want to talk about something that he doesn't believe is appropriate?
Of course he is. Of course he is.
He won't.
Dictator.
They'll throw him out.
Well, they will. They'll throw him out and use his head to open the fucking door. But again,
I've got 7 other councillors sitting in that room, and guess what they do?
No, not much, I would imagine. Yes, and I'd like to see a little bit more testicular fortitude from that.
Oh, mate, I'm telling you, they are so insipid.
Which is disappointing.
Listen to this.
I had high hopes for courage.
Can I please have a motion that we move into closed committee of the whole to consider confidential reports, please? Thank you. Councillor Irvine?
Yeah, I've got a point of order regarding this.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Irvine, are you talking about the information paper?
No, going into confidential.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Councillor Irvine.
There's a matter in confidential that is completely inconfidential, but the majority of the report doesn't deal with confidential matters. The code of meeting practice says that the matter can be heard in open and only closed for the receipt of the confidential information relative to the code of meeting practice.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. The matter will be considered and is deemed confidential, the advice that we've received from OLG, and that is where the matters will be considered. Thank you.
Will that
Motion,
will that
please. Councillor Irvine, you do not have
will that
the call.
advice be full?
Councillor Irvine, you do not have the call. A motion, please, to proceed into.
How does he know? There was about 10 reports.
Yes.
How does he know that the matter I'm talking about is the matter that he's got advice on from the OLG?
At what point during the time that you brought it up and he said no to it, did he contact the OLG to get their opinion on said matter?
No, he has refused to hear a point of order raised by a councillor lawfully in a lawful council meeting.
Yeah.
Now that is trampling over the democratic process. That is very, very, very poor chairing of a meeting. And I'm very, very upset by that whole process. Now, I've gone to the general manager. I said, okay, provide the OLG advice.
Yes.
It turns out that the mayor made an assumption that I was talking about a different report.
Oh, good.
So there's no OLG advice about the report I was talking about. There's been matters put in confidential that the public should know about.
Yep.
The mayor has steamrolled over the top of me. The rest of the councillors have sat there and haven't said boo.
Sat there with their hands.
The democratic process has been subverted. And who's going to stand up for the rights of the community? So, I should read you the mayor's response.
Do so. Why not? We're on a roll.
I might find.
We're on a roll, baby.
I'm going to find the mayor's response.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea.
Because I asked the general manager about
And
this.
while you're looking for the response, it turns out our rates are rising by 5%. I don't know if we told you this shit was coming, but everybody should be offended because all we're paying for is what, a $23,000 fucking Christmas tree. I don't know why we're paying for that. An electric bus for Pinnacle. They can drive a normal bus. I don't know why we need to have some bullshit.
No, it's not electric. It's an electric car.
Oh, I don't give a shit what it is.
Hmm.
Still a waste of money.
Yeah, it's an electric car to run around in because they want to have an electric car because the government's electric car dream's dying rapidly and they need to buy an electric car.
We have to help the government fucking currently exist because yes, the green dream's dying rapidly. The new NEVs taxes come in this week. So they're going to
Anyone who wants to drive a normal car is going to be punished.
They're going to, yes, punish you viciously if you don't go out and buy a $100,000 Tesla. Even though, hang on, is Elon cool this week or is he evil this week? Oh, it's very hard to keep up. But if you don't go and buy a BYD or a Tesla or fucking some other electronic contraption in a period of time when electricity prices are through the roof because we've abandoned coal and gas and all of the other sensible resources that we have in this country. So we're going to make you plug in to your house all these stupid charging stations because electricity, and then we're going to use diesel generators to fucking fill them up and run them because they're broken and they don't work.
All right, listen to this.
I always look forward to this.
Following that meeting and the way that the mayor rode over the top of myself and refused to hear the point of order, which is completely against the code of meeting practice, the code of meeting practice that he's been administering for 13 years.
He's a rookie. Leave him alone. You're being far too hard on the guy.
So I posed a question to the general manager.
He spent his entire adult life doing everything he can to be in every meeting fucking in history.
Now, the council meeting was on the 19th of June. I sent this email on the 20th of June at 8:21 a.m. in the morning. Now, the next morning.
Yeah.
Dear Melissa, at last night's council meeting, prior to council moving into confidential closed session, I raised a point of order relative to discussion in the open meeting of the matter in confidential reports 21.1, gravel request antique car club. The Mayor, Rick Furman, refused to hear the point of order, spoke over me and referenced advice from the OLG, Office of Local Government, as his reason for not allowing the meeting to consider my point of order. Please share the advice from OLG referenced by the Mayor with all councillors. Regards. Now, the General Manager responded on Friday the 27th of June. A whole week later it took for the response.
It takes that long to sift through all the evidence and try and bury whatever the hell we can bury to make sure that, you know, we haven't done anything illegal.
Now, the General Manager responded
Did
by
I say
saying,
that out loud?
Good afternoon, Councillor Irvine. I acknowledge receipt of this email and will provide a response once I have further information in relation to this matter. Now, that raises a question. Dear Melissa, I responded fairly promptly after that. What further information do you require in relation to this matter? Please advise. Because it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you either have advice that I'm not allowed to talk in meetings, or you don't.
So the general manager responded the following Monday. Good afternoon, Mayor and Councillors. I write in response to the email received from Councillor Irvine on the 20th of June 2025. I have discussed the matter with the Mayor, and he has provided the following to me in writing in relation to the matter. The Mayor, this is obviously the Mayor's letter. I draw your attention to last night's council meeting and the point of order that Councillor Irvine had raised as per his email to you and councillors on the 20th of June at 8:21 a.m. After having had some time to reflect on the email and last night's council meeting, so this letter must have been written on the Friday.
Yeah.
So it took a week for the general manager. They had this in her receipt.
Serious business. You got to understand that.
I believe I could have handled that specific situation better. Do so. After careful reflection, I should have asked Councillor Irvine what was his point of order.
You reckon?
That'd be a good first step.
Wouldn't that be a go? Fuck me.
And then judged if in fact it was upheld or dismissed. That's generally what a good chair would do. I did assume that Councillor Irvine wished to discuss the highly contentious and difficult issues relating to him, both as a councillor and as the proprietor of Irvine Signs. I should not have assumed, and I do apologise unreservedly for that.
We know what they say about assuming. Makes an arse out of you and me.
Well, that's all well and good, Mr. Mayor. The general public haven't heard that apology. And
no.
All they've heard is you
Well, they have now.
Shotgunning over the top of me in the meeting and basically shutting the whole debate down and not hearing a point of order that was a valid point of order. Now, the advice from the OLG referenced by the Mayor, this is back to the General Manager's comment. The advice from the OLG referenced by the Mayor in the meeting was provided through the conduct reviewer and is contained within the confidential report 21.6 Code of Conduct report. So the Mayor, it appears, was assuming that I wanted to raise a point of order relative to just one report that concerned this OLG advice.
Oh.
Now,
has he not worked out you don't really care that much about those things they throw at you, or what? I mean, it's sport now. Now it's just farcical sport.
My response to that very poor apology and obvious admission of
shit, I better do something here. I'm called out.
But an admission of I didn't do my job at all well. Dear Melissa, this is to the General Manager. Clearly the Mayor has been affected by bias and the democratic process has been subverted. I cannot accept an apology when due process is being disregarded in the rush to destroy my reputation, my business and my family. With the evidence you now have, what do you propose to do to have the point of order dealt with properly and fairly? Please advise. Now, I haven't heard anything back on that. But seriously, that is just the most shallow, fake apology, and it's not accepted. I want a proper, lawful process at these meetings.
Yeah.
These are council meetings. They're held under the Local Government Act. There's legal elements to it. And the Mayor seems to think that the law and the rules don't apply to him.
No, they don't.
And he can just sit there and say, I'm not hearing a point of order. I don't care.
Oh, do you know who I am?
Well,
do you know who I am?
That's what sort of a shit show Temora Shire Council are running at present. And the rest of the councillors are too scared to even raise the issue. Don't they care about your democratic rights? Are they going to air their concerns, or are they just going to get shut down too?
Well, they probably get shut down too, which is probably what they're a little bit scared of. I'd like to know what goes on in the meetings that you and I are not privy to with some of these characters, because I know I've I've been in rooms where people go, well, we know this about you. And I go, fucking, I'll advertise it. I don't give a shit. But clearly there's a lot of that's got to be going on, right? It has to be that subversive Epstein style shit going on. That's the only way that this control and manipulation can possibly be happening. I don't know who's doing what to who, where, why, and when.
This was the mood the mayor was in, and you've heard it before.
Yeah, I made a video about it and shared it with everybody. The whole, you be careful, Mr. Irvine or councillor or whatever.
We had another tanty along those lines.
Yeah, bash that fair up your ass, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm being dragged through these codes of conduct, and they're claiming all this bullying and harassment and intimidation, where it's obvious from these recordings who the bully is.
Well, clearly dominates the whole room. Now, there's a question from Fred Ferner. Now, I've had a couple of conversations with Fred. Don't know him particularly well. Fred, thanks for tuning in, mate. He's been having his own dramas out there with Coolman Shire Council. Again, I'm not going to go too hard in it, other than I saw their mayor, use our bullshit half-assed rag to, denounce
social media, but
denounce any other.
Allowed to use social media.
He's allowed to use whatever he likes, because I'm the mayor, and look, as far as I'm concerned, whether the logistics of said issue, I can give two shits about, because I don't believe council gets a vote at anybody's private property, and I've made that very clear over the years and on this program. I understand that others disagree with me, and they're entitled to do so. But Fred's tuned in with a question. Why does council have meetings before the council recorded meetings? Is his question.
They're not supposed to now. They've been ordered not to by the minister. All the committee meetings are supposed to be live streamed. It was hilarious, actually, at the round table with the minister. He raised the issue because the mayor's always objected to the costs of live streaming.
We've joked about that.
Because these costs are so prohibitive.
I offered to fund that for Temora Shire Council, I believe.
Mr. Honig sat there with his mobile phone, and this is a prop.
Yes.
And he said, "Oh no, Mr. Mayor, you can do it with one of these. It's very inexpensive. I'll show you how." So any excuse that Temora Shire Council or Coolman Shire Council try and put forward that they can't live stream a meeting, you send them over to the spin doctors and we'll show them.
I'll show them.
We could have a consultancy. Councils love consultants.
They love it.
We could be their live streaming consultants, and we could charge them what, $50,000 an hour?
$50,000, and I'll even let them use the StreamYard thing that cost me $70 a month.
We could act as consultants. I'd have to have I'd have to be careful that there'd be a pecuniary interest there. Maybe I'd have to step.
You'd have to recuse yourself, but I can do a backhanded deal with you on the side.
Oh, you can't.
Transparently, of course.
No, you can't do that.
No, because if I do criminal shit, I'll tell you about it, because that's how I roll. But
so there you are.
I'll tell you what the cost of this process is. The program I use is called StreamYard. For those people, and I have had a few people reach out that would like me to show them how to set this sort of show up, which I'm more than happy to do. I'm not going to charge you any money, because as much as I probably should, I'm all for the cause. This program allows me, with the plan I'm on, I can stream to up to three platforms at a time. Yes. So could be a YouTube, Facebook Live, Instagram, and it's usually Twitter that we usually run on. I'm currently banned from Twitter this week because I suggested that if an asteroid landed on the head of the what was he, Carlo Gutierrez, whatever his name is, he's a fucking globalist dickhead anyway. He's waffling on about his climate change shit, and I just said, mate, I just hope an asteroid lands on your house. I would never condone violence, but if nature took its course, I'd find that funny. So I got a week's ban on Elon's Twitter, so we couldn't live stream to there tonight. And I'll stand by it. If a asteroid landed on that guy's house, I wouldn't shed a tear. But 3 platforms at a time we can live stream to. It can be multiple Facebook pages at once. It could be any sort of, there's a few combinations you can use. And it also allows other editing. As you saw last week, I programmed a show or a little ad type thing. I kind of needs a lot of work. It wasn't supposed to go live when it did, but that's what happens when you're figuring it out as you go along. But we can also stream other people in. I'm not sure. I think I can have up to 6 with the 6 separate screens. So we could arguably have Stewie Bonds, Andrew Thaler, Martin. If Elon wants to tune in.
Ronald.
If Donald wants to come in and I can explain to him that Elon's right, his big beautiful bill's shit. He's not getting everything right, ladies and gentlemen. But it's costing me about the equivalent of about $78 a month.
And then you've got to have an internet connection.
And you've got to have an internet connection, yes.
So I think the council have already got an internet connection.
I reckon they'd have an internet connection.
So
we're using
$78 a month.
That's what's costing me to run that.
So council can live stream all their committee meetings.
Yep.
And they can live stream their council meetings for $78 a month.
To 3 different platforms. So I would imagine if you were fair income, you'd have the council website, you would have council Facebook page, and you would have council's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They're the 3 that all come to mind immediately.
$78 a month.
$78 a month.
Geez, the price of democracies. Ron Honig said democracy's never been cheap.
Oh, look, I'll tell you what's very expensive. And then, of course, you already had a camera / this higher quality camera.
Yep.
Sometimes if we're not using this particular camera, we're using the laptop camera. It's a little bit scratchier. It's not quite as good. But arguably, the phone camera will do the job as well.
Some of the phone cameras are exceptional now.
And this platform will work on your phone. So we don't need to use a laptop. I just find it a little less arduous to drive that.
Yep.
So for $78 a month, and I'll tell you what I'll do for you tomorrow, Shire Council. Once again, because I'm a giving kind of guy, right? I will get you hooked up with this login. I'll get your 3 platforms in there. I won't steal your passwords. I won't spam you with bullshit. I won't commandeer your YouTube channel and run nefarious programs off it. I will quite happily just go, here's your login. Go ahead. I'll let you use my $78 a month. The only catch will be you can't go live when the spin doctors are on. You'll just have to go your own way.
Yeah. You have to find. Yeah.
You have to find your own way.
Have to book around.
Book around that. So this
Thursday
2-hour period.
night
That's locked in. That's booked.
Yep.
Yeah, and when Car Corner's on, that's a different thing because that's sort of being developed as we speak. That's fun. But and in Car Corner, we're probably not going to talk about Pete Marnie's $10,000 extortion. Commodore, fuck, what a circus. And I'm going to hammer him until he's he's retiring, but forever, really, Pete.
Well,
I'm not done.
I just think he's really shown his true colours on the way out the door. I think it's something reminiscent of the Sun in London, or he really has just played up.
It's just gutter fucking journalism. It's not even that. What was it? What's that? TMZ or some of that shit. I mean, obviously he's not tech savvy enough to do a TMZ in real time, but
it's low.
It's just low.
It's really
gutter,
low.
trashy.
It's the
shit. It's
It makes B grade journalism seem highbrow.
Look, if you're fair income in town, I'm pissed off about the rate, right?
No, I feel calls all day and people just shaking their heads and they're just going, "What a piece of work!"
I had people ringing me going, "Has Anthony seen this?
Yeah.
He should sue them."
Yes.
And blah blah blah. And I'm going, "Oh, look," and suing them's probably more civilized than punching them in the head.
Well,
but
again, they're careful.
Either or's, valid.
It's not even like they haven't said anything specifically about me. They've fantasized and they've
created a whole scenario in their head, but the reality of it is it's so insidious.
They've certainly tried to destroy.
Absolutely, they have.
Back to our illustrious mayor.
Fuck.
And his role in all of this.
I thought I gave up working with vegetables when I stopped cooking. Well, apparently I'm dealing with vegetables on a regular basis still.
You've heard this before. Now, this deals with a DA that council were dealing with, and I was speaking on the matter. Now, there's a fellow who works for Coolum Shire Council called a Mr. Colby Farmer. Now, he's the Executive Manager, Development and Environmental Services of Coolum Shire Council. But he runs a consultancy on the sideline, and he advises and supports.
Where it's inflationary times, mate. Everybody's going backwards. You need to have a couple of sidelines. I've got 3 of the bastards.
Yes,
just to pay the bills. I get it.
But Mr. Farmer wrote a report in support of the development, and in 2 instances in that report, Mr. Farmer alluded to. If council didn't pass it, it was highly likely that the applicants would pursue it in the Land and Environment Court.
Yeah.
So that I found disappointing when you consider that Mr. Farmer works for Coolman Shire Council, a neighbouring Shire Council during the day.
Yeah.
But in his moonlighting job, in a report, he's threatening legal action against Temora Shire Council.
Those pricks that eat themselves given half the chance. You know it and I know it.
Well, I could actually find the actual wording, but anyway, that's the
crux of
the crux of it. Now, when I mentioned that in the meeting, the mayor warned me to be very, very careful again.
I love this be very, very careful shit.
So
lace up your boots,
So
strap on your nappy.
there's a couple of other notes. I was a little bit disappointed in Mr. Farmer's couple of statements regarding litigation. In Mr. Farmer's other life, he's the Executive Manager of Development and Environmental Services at Coolman Shire Council, making these decisions. And when a decision isn't quite going his way, he threatens legal action twice in the document.
Councillor Irvine, I'd caution you to be very, very careful in
Well,
relation to your
that's
comments.
Mr. Farmer's position, and this is a job he does on the side. I don't know whether.
I'm just urging you to.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what he does.
Be careful, he's part of the gang and you're not.
His main job, and this is his sideline.
This guy's certified and does special handshakes with us and meets us at the club later and participates in, I don't know, whatever they want to participate in, which as long as there's no children involved, I really don't give a shit. But, you know, that's just threatening bullshit. I urge you to be careful. Be cautious.
For stating facts.
Yeah, fuck off.
The guys.
I know some people are probably looking at me tonight and going, geez, he's cranky, and he is very cranky. This sort of stuff just, the last week of just insidious behaviour around this country, you know, we've got this shit going on with these kiddie fiddlers bouncing around. We've got this sort of bullshit going on. There's a world of things that are going on planet Earth and planet Australia that have me absolutely pissed off. I can't pretend not to be pissed off because I actually care about the future of the country. I care about not being lorded over by corrupt little wankers. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in freedom of person. I believe in personal responsibility. I believe in not answering to little overlords who, you know, it's arguable that councils are even a legal entity. There is no third layer of government. Our constitution doesn't allow it. That's why you're answerable to state government. It's effectively an arm of state government.
This is directly out of the report. This is what Mr. Farmer wrote in his report. The applicants would like to work with council to ensure that any questions are addressed, as opposed to having any refusal by council appealed to the New South Wales Land and Environment Court at significant cost to council and the community, especially when the development. So
there is no cost to council. It's all the cost to the community. Let's fucking be realistic.
Threatens that if he doesn't get his way, we're off the court. Now, this is his closing statements.
Well, this is his farmer fella.
Yes. If council proceeds to determine the subject application in its current form by way of refusal, it is highly likely that an appeal under the applicable provisions, appeals to blah, 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 will be initiated. So that's twice in that report,
right?
That Mr. Farmer threatens legal action against council.
And now, we live in a world where that's how these people live their lives. They make threats.
But this guy works for a council.
You be careful, or I'm going to sue you, or I'm going to all this bullshit.
He's a guy who works for a council, a neighbouring council, and he's threatening the next door council.
Of course. Why not?
We
have lawyers because you can threaten the next door council because it doesn't come out of any of the councillors' pockets.
Oh.
It comes out of the taxpayer, ratepayers' coffers.
Other people's money.
So he'll throw his lawyers at it. They'll throw their lawyers at it. The lawyers will all get a big drink.
No. In this particular instance, he'd forgotten his place and he was actually committing the applicants to the expenditure. Now, I don't know whether the applicants really wanted to spend significant sums of money in the Land and Environment Court.
If you enlist a douchebag, expect douchebaggy things to happen. I'm sorry. And I don't know this bloke.
It was almost as though Mr. Farmer forgot his place because he didn't have the council standing behind him. He had the applicants that he was working for, and he was basically threatening legal action on their behalf.
Yeah.
And that could be very expensive.
Well, most legal action is.
Yeah. So
most legal action
I found that disappointing.
Well,
Now that's not.
you still have far more faith in the system than I.
No,
Hence why you find it disappointing.
I just found that disappointing that
I scratch
someone
my
who
head.
works for a council during the day
Not a
would
thing
threaten a council when he works.
wouldn't
his
surprise me in the
moonlighting job.
slightest. No, God, this is the whole MO. This is how they rise the ranks. This is how the whole show's set up. It's what they do.
Well,
They're all wankers.
I just
don't care.
thought that was a bit unusual.
Yeah, look, I just scratch my head. These people
Anyway,
are off chops.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Because in that development application, it actually in those matters you have to have they're decided by a show of hands. You have to record your vote for or against a planning matter so that it can be revisited down the track.
Yeah, so if down the track it turns out you're an investor and a shareholder in it, you can arguably
or if
skull
there's
drag
other
the court or vice versa. Yeah.
less than
And
honourable.
turns out you're a property developer in your spare time on a silent matter, and you've ended up with a big deal and made $1 million off the ratepayers.
So there was one other councillor voted against it along with myself.
Yep.
Now, I'm not particularly, it doesn't really worry me, but it's a residential development in the centre of the CBD.
Yeah.
A residential development in the centre of the CBD isn't going to enhance the CBD.
No.
It's not going to attract patronage to the CBD. It's not going to help the other businesses around that residence to attract more patronage. It's not going to create a community of good businesses.
Yeah.
It's actually using the CBD to habitate, like to reside in. All of a sudden, you haven't got a CBD, you've got residences all mixed in. I don't know. Like I said, they were the fundamental grounds that I didn't, and the zoning didn't support it.
Yeah.
They exploited a loophole in the there was a loophole in the LEP regarding heritage conservation that they have created a story around that they've submitted. It was supported by the council officers.
Yeah.
So sometimes when people do developments, council officers will support them and they will bend over backwards to help the applicants get them passed.
Yeah.
There's other times when applicants put something forward where council officers seem to put hurdles in front of them.
No.
Well,
no.
I was involved in one matter where an applicant wanted to put a development in the main street, and they were met with no end of hurdles to overcome in order to do it. And in the end, they gave up. They were just so exhausted and frustrated. So it just depends who you get on the day, I think, in terms of the council officers. I don't know how to describe it, because there's inconsistencies to my mind as to how these things are dealt with.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so that's disappointing. I would like to see some evenness in that type of thing.
Well, look, and this again, me doing the thing that I do now. As we know, I don't really like any of that shit, but blockchain technology, the stuff they use on Bitcoin, all that sort of stuff now, it's being trialed around the world, where all these things effectively just go into the machine. The machine says, yep, you've ticked all the boxes, done.
That's
no room for corruption, no room for
that's where
backroom deals.
AI done properly would overcome a lot of that, because you would put your submission in and AI would go, doesn't comply with this, doesn't comply with that, blah, 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 and it would spit out an answer.
Yeah. And
you have to go back and you'd have to address those.
I've done little demonstrations on this program. I'm getting quite good at this AI shit. Lawyers aren't going to exist in 10 years unless you need somebody to argue on your behalf.
But even a lot of these planning decisions won't be made by humans in the future.
No.
So
that's both terrifying, and for me, it's terrifying and comforting in equal measure. I've always been such a skeptic of AI type technologies. I won't use Siri. I don't like, I've always been, I don't want to use that shit. And I've had a few mates reach out lately going, you know, this AI shit. I'm going, well, at the moment, based on the human experience, I have far more faith in AI performing what I want when I want. I'm getting far better results. I had a really good one, an interesting one today. Some of you may know I sell the odd car. Customers come in today and they wanted a brochure for a particular vehicle. Now, the company that represents that particular vehicle. Don't do physical brochures anymore. But sometimes we get people who are a little bit older and they kind of, they really want to hold. So as a rule, I'll go and I'll download the brochure and I'll print the bastard off for it.
Yep.
All right. If you're going to spend 60, 70 grand on a car, I'll print you off a couple of bits of paper.
Yeah.
Now, I got to this particular port of the website where the brochure, one of those 404 broken link, whatever,
Yep.
came up again. This was on the official website for the company.
Yep.
Nothing. This lady was getting a little bit agitated. I really want a brochure. I'd like to buy it, but we want to go home and read the brochure tonight. And for her, it was a bit of a comfort thing. Now,
it's a big decision, and you want to make sure in your own mind that you're making the right decision.
Correct. And they want as much info as they can.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't get the official brochure off the website for the manufacturer.
Yeah.
I went to my mate ChatGPT and I typed in this car, this model, this year, I'd like a brochure, please. Boom. Now, come up with about 5 things, plus here is the brochure to download. I downloaded it straight off there.
Yeah.
I could get off ChatGPT from the manufacturer what I couldn't get from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Now, that's both terrifying, but Christ, it's efficient.
Yeah.
I made a bullshit song. Now, I'm not a singer's backside. You're a musician. I made a bullshit song about Dean's Deals the other day, and I put a couple little photos of some customers that have been, cars that we've been rolling out. I've been on a bit of a mission, and it's been going mostly well. A couple of days behind, but I didn't expect to just cruise through. The idea of a challenge is for it to be challenging.
Yeah.
But I got there in about 3.5 minutes, and I created a song. Now, if I wanted to right now, in front of everybody, create a song for you and I and this show, I reckon I could do it. And lyrics, the whole lot.
Yeah. And the interesting part about that is when you create it via ChatGPT, you own.
Yeah, absolutely.
You own. Yeah.
What are we going to put in the song? Write me lyrics for a song. Lyrics for a song about Dean and Irv's spin doctors. There we are. Irv's spin doctors. And I'll do this in real time so you can see the power of this. And if you're nervous by it, I'm happy to show you a few things. A podcast about truth, justice, and liberty. That'll do. Look at that. Look at us go. Right. Now, I've just put that in there. This thing's going ballistic. So I'm sure it's an excellent song. Now, I'm not going to edit it because it's got words like outro in there. I'm going to copy that from there. I'm going to go to this little AI app here. You're a musician who's spent time building this stuff. Poor old Marshy's head's got to be spinning. We don't need him anymore. Now, I'm not going to bother editing out bits where it says chorus, so the song will say chorus and shit like that. What style of music would you like, Councillor? Would you like it to be a hip-hop song or a...
Country and
country.
Country and Western.
Country, both types of music.
Yes.
Country and Western.
Yeah.
Right. Now I've hit country and Western. I've put in the songs. I've left in the extra bits because I really couldn't be bothered editing it, and we're trying to save time here. But your groove is on its way.
So we're writing the song as we speak.
This song's coming together 100 mile an hour. Who needs Taylor Swift anymore?
We're creative, aren't we?
She's done. Up, song's ready to play.
All right, just pause that. You can go.
I don't think that'll plug in there.
You haven't got a 3.
No, I haven't got one of those.
Oh, it's an Apple thing.
But that's all right.
Talking, bringing light to what is true. Every conversation, you're fighting for what's right. Shining beams of reason in the darkest of the night.
Wow.
Spin doctors turning in the tide. Justice and peace.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
People, questions that ignite. Leaders, spin doctors, shining freedom's light. Stories from the headlines.
That's unreal, isn't it?
Unraveling the secrets, uncovering the link. They're champions for justice, defenders of the free.
I'm getting teary.
With every word they're speaking, they're making history. Then doctors turn inside. True justice and liberty standing side by side.
I think James could play the violin.
I can do anything, mate.
Fiddle.
I'm all over it.
It needs a verse about propaganda, Pete.
Oh, you want me to put one in there? I can do that, but the song will be different though.
Yeah.
I can. Oh, look,
No,
that's. I'll play one for that.
no. That's demoted.
But
That's unreal.
that's how easy this shit is. To be fair, so
All
I mean,
right,
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty clever. Now, well, there's Bob Taylor's message. The Tomorrow Independent has a duty to its readers to inform, not inflame, to investigate, not invent. Mate, I would like to agree with you, and I think
I agree with that sentiment.
I think most reasonable people would agree with that
I'd hope
sentiment.
that.
But I would also think a lot of people who think that they're reasonable people would just read that and go, well, it must be true, and that's just how it is because the media would never lie to us,
Yes.
which is pretty right up there with naive and fucking gullible in my opinion. But yeah, I think you're right, Bob. That's what their duty is supposed to be. That was traditionally what it was all about. Unfortunately, those days are gone. But of course, as the song just said, if you're looking for that honest reporting, this is where you'll have to come. Unfortunately, I don't spend hours and hours and hours of my day doing journalistic things because I'm not a journalist. But I can tell you what, if it's coming out and I'm going to put it out there, I'll try and make it as accurate as humanly possible.
Now, I think that's pretty neat. I want to show you something that absolutely blew my mind.
Blew your mind. That's a bit cool.
This is hard to get me head around. There's a fella called Martin Ticehurst. Here he is, independent candidate for Bathurst. He's also a councillor on Lithgow City Council.
Yep.
Now, he raises a question on the 28th of June. That's only a few days ago. A serious breach of a complainant's privacy. A Lithgow City Council ratepayer has also spotted what is in both their and my opinion a very, very unprofessional cut and paste breach of a complainant's privacy by the author and company of the recently posted Lithgow City Council's Code of Conduct Investigation Report 24/24. Without further comment, other than to confirm that Ms. Melissa Boxall is the General Manager of the Temora Shire Council, I will let other Lithgow City Council ratepayers and residents make up their own mind on the attached pages of 20 and 25. Now,
what's Miss Boxall got to do with Lithgow Shire Council?
nothing.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. We mere mortals, please explain.
But this page appears in a Code of Conduct final investigation report presented to Lithgow City Council. It's a 145-page report that they would have paid handsomely for.
Oh, no doubt.
Now, evidence. This is
evidence
Lithgow,
against Councillor Ticehurst.
is regardless of what it's about. This is what's in a report at Lithgow City Council. The investigation has considered the following sources of information. Evidence capable of being affirmative or disaffirmative of the complaint matters. Briefing documentation provided to me. An interview with Ms. Boxall. Reviewing episodes of the Spin Doctors YouTube channel. Open source searches. Review of council's website.
Look, if I was
What's that got to do with Lithgow?
as the song just said, If they want to get the right information, they've got to come to the Spin Doctors YouTube channel. That's
But-
what they have to do,
but-
because clearly that's where the investigators are coming to get all their correct information.
Potential breaches of the code. In her complaint, Ms. Boxall identified that she believed that Councillor Ticehurst may have breached the following clauses of Code of Conduct in connection with Ms. Boxall. But Ms. Boxall's a general manager at Temora.
How's she involved in this?
Has she got a role at Lithgow? No. Does she know Councillor Ticehurst? Probably not.
I don't know.
All of this information.
Temora Shire
Temora
Council
Shire
Code of
Council
Conduct.
Code of Conduct policy. Temora Shire Council procedures for administration.
So these silly spastics have cut, paste, hacked, chopped, cut, paste, bit more cutting, paste, probably charged both councils 50, 60 grand each for the convenience of some fine quality reporting.
But it's an investigation report. This is something that these councils pay a hell of a lot of ratepayers' money for.
Yes.
Um,
Makes the 23 grand Christmas tree look cheap.
it's it's just mind blowing that obviously my report or a report generated for Temora.
Yeah.
Now, I can only make the assumption that it's my report because,
Well,
Council-
where else would you get that shit from?
well, but the thing is, there's never been a code of conduct complaint made against anyone other than myself in Temora.
Yeah.
So by a process of elimination,
Processing all the other people who haven't been
so the
harassed
only,
with bullshit.
the only source of a code of conduct complaint investigation dealing with someone in Temora must be one to do with me.
Yes.
Okay.
I reckon there's a pretty good
Yeah.
chance that is a correct assumption.
How can that end up in one for Lithgow?
Well,
Now, I've been charged,
I would imagine there's some serious breaches of privacy going on somewhere here
but even to,
at
the point,
a minimum.
even to the point that I've been charged in my code of conduct, which was read out and forms the minutes of the council meeting, for mentioning codes of conduct.
You're not allowed to talk about them. It's like Fight Club. We do not talk about Fight Club.
But yet my matter's being reported in a Lithgow council document.
It's not being reported. It's being quite literally. They've mashed it up. They've fucked it.
Yeah.
That's clearly it's negligence.
But
And
what
it's a
does that-
failure. It's a dereliction of duty for whoever the investigators and
But
people
does
are.
that call into question the validity of both investigations?
I call all of those investigations
But if
validity into
we've
question,
got we've got a situation here where information from one investigation is being mixed
smushed
up
together with
another
one.
investigation, does that call into
Well,
question?
the DJs, they call them remixes.
Look, I'll tell you, but I'll tell you how we know that the process is crooked, but we also know now that it's incompetent.
Yes.
And then can you rely on any of
No.
the findings
No, you can't have
if they
corrupt,
can't
broken.
even get the same information, the right information in the particular report?
This is 100% correct.
Let's just consider
Well,
this process.
cut and paste Lithgow saga.
Yes.
Sounds about right, Rachel. Yes.
Well, I don't think Pete will touch that with a 20-foot pole. He'd be far better off
Pete's-
flogging me.
Pete's still trying to sell his car.
Pete's going to go off in a blaze of glory and he's going to flog me
Okay.
every week.
I'll give you $500 for your shit box.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be getting postcards printed with my face on them so he can post them to his friends when he's no longer the editor.
Friends?
Yes.
Come on, he can't have any friends.
Oh, he would.
Would he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah, I know.
They're not real friends. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, we're not going to go down that path. No, I don't mind scrapping in the mud on occasion.
No,
you
we're
know,
not
look,
going.
I mean, I get it. It's
If you're going down to Peter Marnie's level, yeah.
I've been
We're not
accused.
going there.
I've been accused on
We're not
occasion.
going there.
I've been accused, right? People go, you punch down on people. And I'm going, Who the fuck do I punch down on? An editor of a paper, technically speaking, far further up the food chain than I.
Well, they're supposed to be fine, upstanding members.
A mayor of a town who seems to do plenty of dodgy shit behind backs and makes threats when it suits him. Former deputy
A bully in mayor's clothing.
The former deputy prime minister of Australia got in my crosshairs during an election, so we battled.
Yeah.
Clearly, I punched down.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Obviously, some people see me in a far higher regard than with which I see myself. But these people are off their heads.
This code of conduct procedure, this process is so wrong. Now, picture this. This is how it works. A mayor will make a complaint against the council that's giving them
hurting their feelings,
issues.
Yeah, not towing the company line.
The general
of the dark
manager
army
will accept that code of conduct complaint because generally they've got little choice.
Well, it's their job, yes, to do as the mayor tells them. From what I can tell.
Well, the mayor can sack them.
Yes.
So they generally do what the mayor tells them.
Hmm.
Now, then they engage a code of conduct investigator.
Yes.
Who looks at all the evidence provided by the complainant.
The mayor.
No, or the complainant, or the general manager.
The mayor.
Whoever makes the complaint provides the evidence to the investigator.
Yeah.
Now they engage the investigator, so they're paying the investigator. So then the investigator investigates.
Yes, and you want to answer to your paymasters, a bit like the climate scientists, really.
But then, after that, the investigator makes the findings. Now, even the New South Wales Police Force at its worst didn't have the option of hearing the matter. So if they wanted to fabricate some charges against an individual, can you imagine Roger Rogerson, if Roger Rogerson could investigate and then make findings?
Yes, yes.
You know, that's what this situation's like. So the investigator's being paid by the council, the evidence is being supplied by the council, and then the investigator is making the findings.
Mm.
What part of that sounds wrong?
No, it all sounds perfectly legitimate to me.
So there's no due process. There's no opportunity. Like the first code of conduct that I received, I actually treated it with.
You treated it with the utmost respect. You jumped through every hoop known to man.
And I wrote submission after submission.
And you rang me about 15 times a day going, I've thought of this and I'm going, mate, you're wasting your time. Just tell me.
Tied myself in knots. Yeah. Not all worried about it. Felt really, really, really agitated and very, very concerned. Found it very, very harrowing.
Yeah.
And then all of the information that I provided the investigator was ignored.
Yeah.
All of the information I requested from the investigator wasn't provided.
Of course. Why would you do that?
And the findings didn't take into account anything that I put forward.
And the investigator's paid by the opposition.
Yes.
Answer to question. End of story.
And they make the findings. So it's not even as though their investigator can put forward their story and I can put forward my story.
No.
And someone independent decides. No. The investigator makes the findings. The person being paid by the council.
You need to shut your mouth and know your role. Your role is to do as you're told and shut your mouth, or you'll be in trouble, you naughty little councillor.
Naughty little councillor.
Naughty little councillor. How dare you?
I've spent my life doing roles of honour. Honour rolls for cricket clubs and footy clubs and all of the high achievers in these organisations. I've done honour boards for Temora Shire Council.
You would not.
I have. But
Surely
what I'm
not.
proposing now, and I don't know whether this will get up, I should put a notice of motion into the next council meeting for council to invest in a role of dishonour.
A role of dishonour.
And then they can have the opportunity to put me up. Every time they give me a code of conduct, they say, look, he's on the roll of dishonour again. You know,
I better get a certificate up there. I want in. That sounds like an award I'll tolerate.
But like so far, I've had 5 codes of conduct. I've been found to be terrible in all cases. So surely that could get me 5 mentions on the roll of dishonour.
You'd hope so.
At Temora Shire Council. I should be set up as an example of what not to do.
Yes, if you have no integrity and no whatever, you need to vote for this man
Yes.
to be on the roll of dishonour.
The roll of dishonour.
We can look, we can make a whole show out of this shit.
But I need to make a roll of dishonour up, I think.
We could do some fun stuff.
At least I could put it up in.
We could talk to our mate ChatGPT and come up with some really creative ideas, because you don't need to be creative anymore. You do it, bitch.
Well, I think there's still a role for the clever human.
What clever humans are, where?
Anyway, that's where it's at. So that's the stupidity of the situation. We've got code of conduct investigators mixing up their reports, sending half of a report, not half of a report, but elements of one report into another report to a totally unrelated entity, and then they'll turn around and they'll charge me,
yes,
for divulging confidential information.
Yes,
but they've just gone and done it. But who's going to charge them? Oh, no one.
We're charging them right here and right now. I've already denounced you, Brick's guilty.
Let's investigate them. Yes, we've investigated. Guilty.
I've already done it.
Okay.
Guilty
we've made
as
findings.
charged.
Yep. Okay. We've made findings against them.
Dodgy as shoot house rats, end up. But look, all this sort of stuff, right? It's this sort of stuff is why, no matter how strongly I feel on a topic, I can't endorse a government-run death penalty. These are the perfect reasons.
I could never support a government. Look, I can't support the death penalty purely on the fact that it can be manipulated. I've seen outcomes manipulated in this process. And I've seen seemingly sensible people just go along and say, no, it's gaslighting of the highest level. Now, I could think of nothing worse than if this was something of that seriousness and this level of shit fuckery, for want of another word, this level of absolute stupidity,
yes,
could be allowed to exist. But that's what's occurring. No, 100%.
It's very interesting, like, because in certain crimes, I'm all for them to end up dead, right? I don't have a problem with that. Here's the issue: is I always come back to the same conundrum. Who makes the decision? Who makes the call? Who pulls the trigger? And I don't trust anybody that's going to be in that room to do it. That's the big conundrum I have.
No.
I fully agree. Some people absolutely deserve the death penalty. I can't bring myself to trust anybody in the space of the realm of the likelihood to undertake such an undertaking, with that responsibility not to abuse said responsibility and turn into corrupt psychopaths. Rob Matthews, keep up the momentum. You have hundreds, if not thousands, of people behind you. Bravo for sending out. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Did you like our song? Come on, we haven't had not one person commented on the song. That's some of the finest musical artistry I think I've ever participated in.
But on Rob's point, and that's the thing, like, my phone hasn't stopped ringing for work. Busy again today.
Yep. Fielding
good orders, picking up new clients.
Yep.
It's having this rubbish. If anything, it's actually working against.
There's an old saying, any publicity is good publicity, right? Now, there's going to be an element of people who are never going to do business, and this is what I've had to come to grips with my little ventures and operations. There are some people who I could offer free services to who would outright just no.
Yeah, we're not doing business.
We're going to pay double time because we're going to pay that other arsehole to do it poorly.
Yeah.
At twice the price because we think you're an arsehole.
Yes.
Cool. Now, I reconciled that element of my personality a good 40 years ago, and I'm 44. I reckon by the time I was about 5, I was starting to figure out how comfortable I was with certain things. Then there are other people who will only want to deal with me because they know where I'm coming from. They feel the values. They kind of go, shit, you're one of us. There are some people who I could give them $100,000 car and they're going to say, I don't want it. You're an arsehole. I'm going over the road. More power to you. Go nuts. I don't want you coming and treating my house for pests. I'd rather live with the cockroaches. Good job. Don't care.
Well, that's where I'm at. I don't really want to spend my life around people that believe this malarkey.
Yes.
None of my friends believe that.
Anybody who knows you knows that 80% of this is bullshit, right? Now, the bit that's not bullshit is, Yes, there has been some codes of conduct breaches. Yes, there have been. You've got the paperwork. Tamora Shire, something in here's got to be accurate. Yes, you've apparently breached their bullshit rules, probably. And yes, Ron Honig may have said that while he was here, but he didn't mention anything about backing council over you. To my knowledge. To my knowledge, that's lies and bullshit.
And he certainly didn't, although not mentioning Anthony Irvine by name,
No, he didn't.
there was little doubt the minister was referring to the recalcitrant
mention-
Tamora councillor.
What sort of shit is that?
Now,
He didn't mention you by name.
Sean will call me recalcitrant. I wear that as a badge of honour, Sean. I'm not going to sit here. I say stubborn, and I say uncowed. I say unbeaten.
Uncompromising, unbeaten, undeterred,
Absolutely.
committed,
Yes.
proud of
Ready.
standing up for the community as
Hungry for more.
you're doing. Yes.
And
And
bring it on,
up.
Sean. Bring on your pus. More pus, please.
Yeah, look.
Show me your real true colours. Show me how low you can
Actually, I
go.
couldn't pick that guy out of a police lineup either.
Show
Is he
me-
a bit of a
well-
sped? What's his story?
He's a Scotchman.
Well, that's not always a good thing. Some of them are all right and some are tards.
He's a Scotchman.
I-
I don't know. I don't know
So
what
don't-
he's done wrong in his past life to end up here as a journalist. Something pretty serious.
Used to
should have happened.
dated Peter Marnie's sister or something, cousin,
I don't know.
brother, I don't know.
Don't know.
Did Rick mention to Ron that he hates labouring as a Nationals man? Didn't you hear, Rob? Rick's now the founding president of the Labor Party, Tamora, and is a big advocate of as many socialist possible socialist reforms. Yeah,
Now he hasn't got green hair.
that's
That's
a
a plot
tree.
plan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
So he's hiding in
and
the
that's,
bushes.
that's our mate Pete.
That's propaganda, Pete.
Propaganda Pete the potato. Pete the potato and Sean the no, I won't say what I was just about to say. That's even rude for me.
Propaganda, Pete.
Even for me with my ability to offend, on occasion be a little harsh. I won't call him what I was about to call him because I'm being civilized.
Oh, propaganda, Pete, purveyor of pernicious prose.
Fucking
That's the man. That's the man who's going to ride off into the sunset.
fucking in his $500 half.
And he's just going to sit back and reflect on his career of greatness.
Ron was very well gifted during his visit, which I find rather interesting considering this article and Ron's said comments. Yeah, well, look, Rob, here's a couple of things that I figured out in my 44 years of life. Often, media outlets fucking lie. Not just this one, but
Lots
many of them
Yes.
lie. If they're not necessarily lying, they're pushing a certain apple cart, which is sort of fine if if they're not purporting to be journalists. Like if you're doing opinion pieces, if you're a commentator, when you see the people who now that's the new thing now is I'm a commentator. I'm a public commentator. Some are right wing, some are left wing, some are retarded. Whatever they may be, that's fine. But these people pretend to be journalists. They pretend to be a bit of a grand old lady and
Oh, look, they're masquerading behind the banner of a newspaper that had some integrity at one point in time.
celebrating 138 years of publication,
Yeah.
soon to be out of business on the back of Peter Marnie and his minions.
Well,
What did they call me? Was I an acolyte of yours or some bullshit?
yes, yeah,
Maybe is Sean a Peter acolyte, is it?
I think so.
That's a bit cute.
Yeah.
That's a bit cute. The only difference is between him being an acolyte, he's obviously doing as he's told, and I don't think I've ever done what I'm told.
I don't
I
know.
can on occasion do something if I'm asked nicely enough and I agree with it.
The thing
But
is, if I go out to work and I dig holes or I get grease all over myself and that, and I come home and I'm dirty,
I
and I have a shower, I come out clean.
did actually,
Sean goes to work and works in an office.
and he's still dirty.
He's dirty, and he has a shower, and he's still dirty. Like, you can't wash that off, Sean. At the end of a day's work, that remains.
Yes.
This is
Now,
your legacy, Sean. This is your life, Sean Cunningham. This is what your life now is. Writing
making up bullshit
Absolute
for to be
crap.
defunct newspaper.
absolute crap
Although
and trying to derail
I do have a bone to pick with you.
What's that?
You just met the Minister for Local Government, some bloke who's been a mayor in Botany, which Botany, Captain Cook landed there, I believe.
Yeah.
Very important man. And you're not wearing a suit and tie.
No, well, I'd been at work 5 minutes before that, and I went to work as soon as it was over.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Well, you can't. That's not how it works. When an important person comes to town, you must suit, boot, and go and.
I haven't got time to suit and boot.
Of course you do, because they've put you out of business. Tomorrow
No,
Shire Council
I'm too busy.
chased you out of business.
I'm too busy. I was putting a sign up at a school, on my way to that meeting. I had the spanner. If you could zoom in, there'd be a spanner sitting in that pocket that I'd use to actually attach the sign.
A spanner. So you know how to use a spanner.
Yeah.
You're standing in a photo with a heap of spanners.
A heap of tools.
A heap of tools.
So,
look, some of them are all right. Some of them aren't on my shit list. Some of them have disappointed me a little bit. I'm not going to lie that I'm a little disappointed that there hasn't been a little bit more courage come out of that building.
I haven't been impressed by any of.
Well, you're seeing them in a more day-to-day light in sort of space.
You just heard the recording.
Yeah, I heard that recording.
And one other councillor spoke up and said, no, we need to hear the point.
And you could go back, actually, I might even edit it just to prove a point, because had I got elected, which I'm glad, like cross, I'm glad, but that would have gone on in the middle of it, you would have heard this, fuck off!
Yes.
Seriously, oi, shut up!
Yeah.
The man's speaking, let him speak. Now, I know you and I on occasion talk over each other and what have you during this program, but that's part of what these programs are, sort of thing. It's a bit of argy-bargy. We're not following a meeting code of practice. We're kind of chewing the fat and discussing the big issues and challenging the narratives and the like, you know. I'm surprised Rick's not wearing a red Labor tie or a red T-shirt that says Labor.
Yeah.
You know, like... And again, I do care who people vote for, but I don't. And I don't really see any difference between the Labor Nationals and Liberals anymore. They're basically the Greens all on steroids. A whole lot of them are completely spineless and insidious. But here we are watching a man who has, for the best part of, since I've known him, and we were at high school at the same time. I didn't know him in high school other than he was that weird older kid always wandering around looking exactly like he looks now, hasn't aged a day. But I'll tell you what, not having aged a day was a bit awkward when he was in year 11 and 12 or whatever it was. But neither here nor there, not all of us get to be as good looking as what I am, of course. Oil painting material. And I'm being sarcastic. But as long as he's been in the public eye, he's been Nationals, Liberals, Nationals. You go down to that shop there, and every photo is with him, with Tony Abbott, and John, I think little Johnny's on the wall there somewhere. That little commie prick.
Yes.
Whoever the hell else. McCormack, of course, a million times over. Who non-politically, from all reports, McCormack's not a terrible fella. No, I'm not saying these things might seem a little personal at times. Politics can be a personal game, a bit of a personal argy-bargy, but I don't really hate these people. I hate some of the actions they undertake. I hate how corrupt the whole show is. I hate how they think that they're more important than everybody else. I absolutely can't stand these people on that level from that context. And if I thought you were selling out, I'd fucking hammer you on the same principles right here, right now. It wouldn't bother me. I think I tuned you up when you voted yes for the pay rise for the councillors and you gave your reasons. Still think, fuck it, I would have said no purely just to be recalcitrant.
Yeah.
I would have been on the record as going no. No. And I reckon the minutes for an awful lot of these meetings would have various yays, nays, and get fucked. Would be a fairly common theme for whoever's being the secretary, because these things are just so broken, so wrong, and so disgusting.
I can't believe that the meetings can be conducted so poorly and everyone just sits there. Like, the deputy mayor's been in 1,000 meetings. He never spoke up.
1,000 meetings this week.
We've got the longest-serving councillor in New South Wales who's done a Masters of Local Government, and he sat through that meeting and didn't allow that point of order.
Now, this will sound harsh as well. Was he awake?
Yes,
Just checking,
it was.
right? Just checking.
It
Right.
was.
And they can, you can get a little bit butthurt, but without being funny. Ken Smith, from all reports, is a nice enough fella. How old's Ken? I know it's unpolite to ask a lady her age or whatever, but we're men. That's, is he in his 70s? A nice fellow in his 70s.
Listen to this.
Councillor Judd would have to be what, 60s, 70s?
70s.
70s.
At least, maybe
you know,
80.
Okay, so you're nearly 70 and 80-year-old men there. So when I say were they awake, this isn't an insult.
Oh, no,
This
Councillor
is
Judd's nodded off at meetings.
Yes.
I've seen him. I've sat beside him in
I
his meeting
don't-
snoring.
I don't doubt it. And it's not me being insulting, me pointing out facts. I remember Fred Nile used to do it. Oh, Fred used to run the Christian Democrats, I think they were. And he sat in New South Wales Parliament for effectively 100 years. And during that 100 years, there's multiple levels of footage of old Fred Nile in New South Wales Parliament.
Sounders.
No, just, and
Well,
my brain's frying because he's getting 200 grand a year to be asleep. Now, I haven't met Fred.
But heap of
I
them
don't know Fred.
would fall asleep anyway because they've probably been out nightclubbing all night.
I'd fall asleep because most of it's bullshit. But
Yes.
I also look at it and we've got to be fair dinkum about some of this stuff. Like, it's nonsense.
This is Temora Shire Council's Code of Meeting Practice. And I'm going to read directly from it.
Not all night, surely. That's like about 12 pages.
A councillor may draw the attention of the chairperson to an alleged breach of this code by raising a point of order. A point of order does not require a seconder. A point of order must be taken immediately it is raised. The chairperson must suspend the business before the meeting and permit the councillor raising the point of order to state the provision of this code they believe has been breached. The chairperson must then rule on the point of order either by upholding it or by overruling it. Not saying, no, I've got advice from the OLG and I'm not going to hear it. So, flog me with your rules, but then don't keep your rules. What sort of bullshit double standards is going on here?
Bullshit double standards.
So this is the thing.
That's what
And
they are.
This is going to become more commonplace because, as I said to you before, when you start flogging me with the rules, I'm going to find out what those rules are. And if you break them, I'm going to flog you back.
Flog you back. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's how it works.
Absolutely.
And that's another example of me being like the mayor trying to overrule me when I said I've got 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So that was the first example of me going, no, I know the rules now.
I've learned the rules of this game,
Yes.
and I'm going
And
to.
now I know the rules of this point of order, and you have breached them. So if I was to make a complaint in the code of conduct that the mayor didn't conduct the meeting properly, would the general manager accept that?
Yes.
Well, maybe I should do that tomorrow.
Well,
I'm really busy.
Yeah, you can't be. You haven't got any business left. They destroyed your business.
No, they didn't.
They said that's what they were going to do.
No, they didn't.
Didn't they?
No.
I'm sure the Temora Dependent.
There's a lot of
Reported
people
on-
out there who appreciate what I'm doing, and they're quite happy to throw me a bone to keep me going.
Yes.
I've
Interesting,
got a wonderful group of customers. Believe it or not, we're flat out.
I believe it. I do believe it.
So-
I just like sarcastically
Yes.
pointing out that these clowns were going to put you out of business.
And other ventures that I've commenced recently are doing quite
Quite well as well. Isn't that
So-
ironic? Like I'm going quite well. You're going quite well.
Yeah, well, even considering what propaganda purveyor of pernicious prose has thrown our way.
Oh, look, the last 12 months, by rights, you and I should be well and truly, sitting on the side of the road with a tin cup going,
We should be sitting in the corner in the fetal position, rocking from side to side, and being non-compos mentis. And basically, Temora Shire Council can stand there and just...
I think they read the room
They
poorly.
they can just sit there and just indicate to the rest of the community that this is what happens when you go against us.
Yeah.
Well,
we were
no,
supposed
this
to-
is what happens when you go against us. We fight back.
Absolutely.
We fight back.
Yep.
We're not like the other ones. We fight back.
And we'll stand with the others who choose to fight back. And
Mate,
if they
and if
stand
anybody
up,
else wants to have a little go, we'll give you a hand.
yeah, feel free. If you're brave enough to stand up, I'm more than happy to stand
And I
alongside
can't
you.
wait to get into state parliament.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun to me, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I do know, I'm pretty friendly with Latham and Ruddock and a few other state parliamentarians around the country, Limbrick.
Would you believe Ron Honig mentioned that he spent, and this is one thing where you wonder where he's coming from. He said he spent a fair bit of time with the member for, is it Barwon? Ray Butler.
Roy Butler. Roy's good, yeah. Roy's all right, yeah.
And he said, there's no hope of me getting any votes out of that crew.
Yeah.
He said, but I do need to get out and see the rest of the state and find out what these rural and regional councils are up against.
Yes. Roy Butler's good value.
Yeah.
He's a good value MP.
Yeah.
I've had a few conversations with him on the phone.
Yeah.
Around the time he left Shooters, Fishers and Pharmacy, and I did a bit of
he's representing a group of constituents that had hold him to account, and they'd tell him pretty straight what they thought of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he wants to get their backing, he's got to be a pretty straight shooter too, I'd say.
Yeah, that's exactly how he comes across. Pete Rothwell, a very good mate of mine, and Roy were working very closely together for a period of time. As happens in politics, you work with somebody closely for X amount of time and then diverge a little bit and cross paths again.
If there's anybody else who wants to run for council, or if there's anybody else who in another council that is considering running for council, they're dissatisfied with the way things are going, reach out. I'm only too happy to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if we've got people who are just asking the right questions and demanding accountability and transparency, eventually it's going to come. Yeah.
And it needs to happen en masse. It needs to happen at volume.
They've thrown the kitchen sink at me and they've had a fair crack at you, and it's done them absolutely no good. In fact, I believe stuff like this is actually working negatively against them.
Now it is. Now it's at the point where it's clear as a bell that it's a vendetta.
Yes. And also it's obvious that the mayor is basically, I'm obviously in his head. Seriously, I'm in his head mad because he just can't. He's not feeling it. He's making some really solid missteps with stuff like this.
Well, it's because he's never been challenged in any sort of.
I think he's shitting himself.
I almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I think he really feels that his mayoralship is under threat, and that's not in the plan.
His little fiefdom has been well protected, well supported, and
because they've put me to the torch. They've put me under the pump. And I think the community have stood back and gone, wow, this guy can handle that shit.
Well, over the last, what's it, 2013, you reckon? 2012, 2013, his mayoralship has been very well protected.
Yes.
Very well.
He's had no challenges.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He's seen off any challenges.
Any challenges gets, even in the room with dissent, is bullied, harassed, banged out the door.
I know
an
ex-councillor who had 3 months off being a councillor because they just could not put up with the bullying.
Yeah. I don't doubt that for a second.
Yeah. Now, that's how bad it can get.
That's what happens when you do not toe the line. If you're not towing the line, you get chased out the door.
You just heard the bullying there tonight. There were 2 instances in the most recent council meeting. It's recorded.
Of course.
And that is just blatant bullying.
Of course.
Be very, very careful. Yeah. What, about stating the facts?
Yes.
You be very, very careful.
Mentioning's disabled.
Yes. You be very, very careful running a proper meeting.
Yeah. But the reality is, for so long, that tactic has worked. Chase them out the door, get rid of them. If they don't toe the line, fuck them up. And that's fine.
But
the only variable there is, I'm not bad at the art of war.
But they gang on you 8 verse 1.
Yeah, of course they do.
So they're only about 15 short.
Chase the door out. Yeah.
They're only about 15 short.
Target-rich environment, as far as I'm concerned. Just bang, bang, bang. Look around, spin.
Unbelievable. And the people who sit there and look, I don't know whether the other councillors actually realise that this is a situation where a lot of this can land back on their own feet.
Oh.
If they sit there and allow stuff to occur that's not correct and don't...
They may well end up liable.
Well, they're going to bear some of the responsibility. It will come back to them because when they get elected, there are responsibilities that they undertake, and they have to make sure that they conduct themselves with integrity and honesty.
Yeah.
And they don't engage in...
And look, I don't think most of them are in there to be I'm just trying to think of the right wording here. I want to get it right.
Look, I told you about that instance where council were going to put soil that was most likely contaminated on a clean site.
Yeah.
And all the senior council staff with anything to do with it endorsed it. 8 out of 9 councillors endorsed it. The only person who could withstand the peer pressure and make the right decision for the community was me.
Yeah.
You know, that's the situation we're in at the moment. That is how poor Temora Shire Council is.
Yeah. No, it's disappointing. Very disappointing. I'd like to see a lot more.
Well, I'd like to see some more people get involved.
I'd love to see more people get involved. I'm not going to lie to you. I'd love to get to the point where every second week we have a different co-host, and you and I alternate with the night off, and we have somebody different come in and have a good time.
No, but I'd like to see.
You know.
I'd like to see the community actually lift their heads up and realise what's going on, and next election elect some people who can enact some change.
Yeah.
Instead of just voting for the same old regime
It's
and having these same outcomes.
very cowardly
Well, it's just
and disappointing.
apathetic.
Yep. They were pathetic as well.
Yeah. So anyway, Pete, bravo, Peter. Some of your best work. It really does highlight and showcase where you're coming from.
Yeah, fucking douchebag.
You know, enjoy your retirement in the gutter. Wow.
Look, I've been accused of not being very statesmanlike, and I tell you what, when I look at some of these people, I go, thank Christ.
Oh,
They couldn't pay me enough money to bullshit, blather, and pretend to be something like fuck.
no.
Anyways,
All
I'll
right.
tell you what, we're at an hour 45.
We'll be wrapping it up.
I reckon we're in a position to wrap it up. I reckon we've been pretty on point and pretty intense, and I think it's been a lot of fun.
It's nice to have the comments coming in tonight.
Comments
Bit of
are always
interaction
good. We
from the audience.
actually love that shit, guys. Like,
Yeah.
and that includes. Look, Rick, I know if you're in there, you want to type something, I'll put it on screen. I'm not afraid in the slightest.
No.
I've shown that time and time again. You know, if you've got something to say, if you've got a question, if whatever, like, it's, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to get in there and call me names, I'll still put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to worry me in the slightest. But we do appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah.
We do appreciate everyone riding with us when we're pretty much flying off the seat of our pants, or when, when the internet goes down, or whatever the hell goes on. We keep seeing pretty consistent numbers week on week, and then we have these little bumps every so often that kind of go through the roof, and then a couple of weeks it'll be steady again. But look, that's just really great. All the feedback I get's pretty good.
Yeah.
Look,
the best thing about this whole platform is it counteracts this sort of shit.
Yeah, that's the only reason we did it.
Yes, this sort of stuff can be really, really destructive if you can't fight
If
back.
it's unchallenged and if it's unchecked.
And obviously, people appreciate the other perspective.
Well, and clearly these Muppets didn't have this in mind when they sort of outright told me that there was no way in the world you were to be platformed.
Yeah, and it's like 2025.
Red flag to a bull, big fella. Don't tell me what I can't do. I don't know who you
And I don't
are.
think we've really. I've got a big white ball on the side of my workshop up in the industrial area, and I've been wondering what sort of motif or artistic expression that I could actually put on that wall. What message I could send the community.
Yeah, you're far more artistic than I'll ever be.
And it's a big wall. It's a big space for a really impactful piece of art.
Well,
so I'm just trying to develop that.
I'll leave the art to you. I tend to be about as subtle as a sledgehammer.
Well,
but
see, this is the thing. I had a code of conduct investigator refer to my page, my icon.
Your icon.
What would you call it?
Your power fist.
Yeah.
The
where is it?
Power fist for sure.
There.
Yeah.
That one. Now, they referred to that as belligerent.
Belligerent. I would have one like that would have been belligerent. I would have been inclined to do the stone cold. The here you go. There you go.
To me, it represents strength.
Maybe you keep yours and you do one for me with that
That's-
one. Well,
Art is always
it's interpreted
Yes.
by I don't know, some shit.
anyway. It was just that was their interpretation. Belligerent.
My interpretation is shove your belligerents fair up your ass, and if that makes me belligerent, well, so be it.
So be it.
Because I just can't be owned.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Anyway,
Ladies and
I think
gentlemen,
we've
thank
addressed
you.
some pretty broad subjects
I
tonight.
think that was a lot of fun. If you like what we're doing, do share it. Do like it. Feed the algorithm, guys.
Yeah.
It's
Spread
I
the
know a
word.
lot of people don't understand this shit. I'm still learning it. But the more people interact on the pages, you know, likes, shares, all that sort of stuff, feeds the algorithm. If you're on the YouTube, you're supposed to hit the bell notification and hit the like and all that shit. You figure it out. I'm not your dad.
Like and subscribe. Pump the numbers. Let's get it going.
Yeah, that's it. And everyone have a great week. And
Back to power.
yeah, absolutely. And if you're keen, give one of us a call and get on board.
Happy days.